As the lecture series is titled, we're talking about sharks and the beauty of the ocean predator. And there's a kind of a misconception about predators in the ocean. We have a negative connotation to the word predator. And in the ocean, that negative connotation is not applicable. There are all kinds of predators in the ocean. Sharks, all the way down to small reef fish, even little snails. Any animal that actually hunts and feeds on another animal is, by definition, a predator. And so the ocean is just full of predators. But tonight we're looking at the world of sharks, and there is a tremendous variety of sharks in the world. But then we have also that iconic shark of legend, the great white shark. Now, this is a shark that I've been fortunate to spend 8 years filming, and it's an absolutely incredible, magnificent animal to see. It is such a large, impressive shark. I'm always impressed with any large animal in the ocean, but to see these animals at 16 to 18 feet and 3,000 pounds, it's just something to behold. And in California here, we have two primary populations, or I should say along the entire West Coast. We have two populations or concentrations of great white sharks. One is up in the Farallon Islands outside of San Francisco, and then the other one is south of the border, off of Baja at Isla Guadalupe. This is where I've spent most of my time filming great white sharks. Now, as a filmmaker, I've had the opportunity to have a lot of fun with sharks. I get paid sometimes to take some very calculated risks working with sharks. The thing I always try to impress upon people is they're not the malevolent monsters that people might think they are, but at the same time, they're not puppy dogs. So we have to always be very mindful that this is a powerful predator and that we have to be respectful and careful when we spend any time with these animals in the open ocean. The interesting thing was when you film underwater, I like to get these big close-up shots. And when you're filming animals on the land, if I want to film a lion, I'm going to use a big zoom lens to get that close-up of the lion. That way I can keep my distance. Zoom lenses aren't effective underwater. So if you want a close-up shot, you got to be close to the shark. So when I get a shot like this of a great white, my lens is literally right in front of its eyeball as it goes past. In fact, in that previous video clip, there was one little shot of a shark. You saw this shark coming up, this big female. She came right by me, and you didn't hear it on the soundtrack, but that's her pectoral fin smacking me in the head. So that's how close you have to get to these animals to get those dramatic shots when you're shooting underwater. We need to start focusing our attention on shark conservation. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, why do sharks need protecting? Well, one of the key reasons is that, as I mentioned earlier, they maintain the balance in the marine ecosystem. And there's a hierarchy that exists in the ocean between predators and prey. And it can vary with a particular shark and the species that it feeds on, and then the species that animal feeds on. It kind of works its way down. And each one of these hierarchies, they can be different in different marine ecosystems. But this is one of the primary roles of the shark. And when we remove the shark, then we start kicking things out of balance. But they also need protecting because nature has endowed them with a very slow rate of reproduction. It's kind of nature's way of controlling those predators at the top of the food chain. Who controls them? Well, in essence, nature does, through a very slow rate of reproduction. And so sharks are threatened by commercial fishing and by bycatch. The bycatch being when sharks are accidentally caught by large gill nets or different types of commercial nets that are catching other animals. The fishermen are literally looking for something else, and they catch sharks, turtles, seals, all kinds of things, and they literally get discarded. And so what are they after? Well, sharks are valued for their fins. That's a big issue, a big component of the drive for shark conservation is the use of their fins for shark fin soup. But they're also valued for their teeth, for their cartilage, shark oil, souvenirs, sport fishing trophies. So there's a lot of activities that are going on that are impacting sharks. So how many sharks are we talking about? How many sharks are we talking about each year? Well, there used to be a number that was bandied about that a lot of researchers thought was a little bit on the high side. They said 100 million sharks a year. And they thought that's a little high. They had one study that looked at the number of sharks caught for the Asian market, and they came in around 38 million to 72 million. And they said that's a more respectable number. Use that. Don't use 100 million because that you could lose credibility by picking some extremely high number like that. Now you look at the 38 to 70 million and you say, well, wait a minute, that's quite a spread right there. You're talking nearly double. Well, again, that's the problem with bycatch. There's no way to effectively manage how many of those sharks are we losing. They can only basically count the sharks that they know are being caught commercially and then make estimates on the bycatch. But just last week, a study came out that was funded by the Pew Environment Group that looked at worldwide the number of sharks, not just for the Asian market. And the number is right back up to where it was. 100 million sharks are being taken a year. One of the statistics that they came up with the study that I actually found more disturbing was they said they're estimating that close to 8% of the entire population of sharks is being pulled out of the ocean each year. And that is much greater than the sharks are able to reproduce. So again, that slow rate of reproduction certainly is not working in the shark's favor when it comes to the number of sharks that we're taking. What's happening now is that the strategies are changing. We're moving beyond this kind of grassroots moral indignation that a lot of people have about shark finning. It's a very brutal type of hunting. But we're having to now move into the international arena and dealing with economic and political and cultural issues. And these actually end up getting greater significance than just the actual brutality of shark finning. Because what happens is when we start dealing with legislation and regulation on an international or a state or a national level, we're dealing with politicians. And the shark advocates are one constituency that this politician is listening to, but they also have a commercial fishing industry constituency that they're having to listen to. And so there are, shall we say, there are new players involved, new heroes and villains in shark conservation. It would be a tragedy for us to lose any of these shark species. So I hope you join me in doing what you can to protect these animals for generations to come. The ocean depends on it, and in turn, we depend on it. Thank you very much.